Hello everybody, it's Jigglypants here, and today we're back in my redstone testing world, and we're going to be taking a look at my auto-crafting system I've been working on. I've gotten it basically to a semi-finished state. I say semi-finished because there's always room for improvements, I feel, with anything you do in this game, and also I only have it set up to do a couple different recipes. But the way it's designed, you can definitely extend this out as far as you need, and you can add new recipes and expand upon this project. But just for this, I was looking for more of a proof of concept kind of thing, just to prove to myself that I could build something like this, and just to kind of get it out in the community that something like this can be done. So to kick things off here, I think I'm just going to take you guys through a bit of a flowchart kind of spark notes idea of how the entire system works, just so you guys can get a bit of an understanding. And then later on, I'll get into maybe a little bit more of the nitty gritty kind of stuff. So the whole thing's made up of three main parts. The first part being this one here. This is basically where each recipe is stored, and this section here figures out what items it needs for a certain recipe and where those items need to go in correlation to the 9x9 crafting grid. And then this section here is kind of like our storage slash search engine. So once this has figured out what items it needs and where it goes, this system here will take those items, search for those items within shulker boxes, which are just stored up here in this chest. This is kind of like my makeshift storage system right now. But it will search for the items it needs for the recipe, pack them into hopper minecarts, send them along over to here, where they get stored for a little bit, and then they get fed one by one into our crafting system, ultimately making their way all the way down to this auto crafter here, which is the sole auto crafter in the entire system, and it'll kick out our output finally here. I went with a single auto crafter design just because I wanted to kind of challenge myself. There's a lot of videos out there of auto crafting systems that are a lot simpler and a lot easier to build compared to this monstrosity here, but they do a lot of holding the recipe within them. Like, they have stuff locked out, and then they hold an item here so only certain items can flow into certain slots. I kind of wanted to challenge myself a bit just to see if I could have one auto crafter do any recipe I want whenever. So to start off, here is where our actual recipes are stored. So this first one here, for example, is redstone torches. So we store each one of the items needed for the recipe in these chest minecarts. And then when this module is called upon, so when redstone torches are called upon, it will drop out these minecart chests one by one down, and they'll drop off their item into this kind of system here. At the same time, it will pulse this powered rail line to kind of do this 9-bit kind of encoder, similar to like binary, where wherever you don't see an observer, that's a 0. Where you see an observer, it gives an output of 1. So each one of these lines kind of corresponds to a slot in the auto crafter here, starting at 1, 2, 3, all the way down to 9, that being slot 1, slot 2, slot 3, and so on and so forth. So when this gets triggered, it basically tells us we need a crafting recipe item to be in slot, I believe, slot 6, and then we also need one to be in slot 9. I kind of built that system there backwards to where the 9th slot's actually the first slot, and the 6th slot would be that one, starting at, if this was 1, I realized that a little bit late, and I didn't feel like rebuilding this entire thing the other way. So, a little bit of confusion when setting up the actual recipes, but if you were to build a system like this, you just gotta double check those kinds of things beforehand. So, when this goes across, it essentially pulses down into this system, which drop these redstone blocks accordingly, flipping this copper bulb, which unlocks one of these hoppers. It's similar to an item filter system to where the items are running across this top hopper line, and then if the hopper down below is unlocked, it will, instead of pushing the item across, it'll suck it down and then put it into these barrels here, or not into the barrels, into this bottom hopper here. But one difference to this is once one item flows through, it automatically trips the system and locks it, because we don't want the sticks in the redstone dust to accidentally get put into the same column, because that kind of breaks the recipe. So I'm just going to show you guys a little bit of a demo of that working then here. So to start up the system on a specific item, I just have it hooked up to this note block here. So we'll just, for simplicity, start with redstone torches here. So by clicking that, we have our chest minecarts take off, and they go across, and they're dropping off their items in here, and we see those minecarts come out, and they get loaded into these stalls here. So if we take a look in here, we have a red shulker box, and then we have a stick. So we know that the item that needs to go into the 6th slot is a stick, and then an item that needs to go into the 9th slot is redstone dust. So they're going to sit here in these stalls essentially until the last one flows in, and then this next system will be kicked on. This next system is a bit of a doozy, I'm not gonna lie. It is a shulker box search engine with a kind of a system that pulls out a certain amount of items from that shulker box and then returns all of them back up to the top. So I'll go over here, and this might be a little bit easier to see. This is the actual search engine itself. I believe it's just Etho's Googler system, and I've kind of expanded upon it and modified it a bit to get what I want out of it. So essentially what this system does is it has a bunch of items stored in shulker boxes up at the top here. So I have just strip jungle logs and then spruce logs just as a demo here. It will take an input of an item you want to search for. So for example, I want to search for spruce logs, and then when this is turned on, it'll go through and it'll search all of those shulker boxes, and it'll give me an output of just the shulker boxes that contain spruce logs, and then also give me back the searched item. So if we look here, we got all of our shulker boxes with jungle logs in them, and then in the bottom we got all of our boxes with spruce logs. So it's kind of like the heart, the core of that section there is just a shulker box search engine. So when our recipe item comes in, it'll search our shulker boxes, and it will find ones that contain that item in it. So once our shulker search has been completed, let's say we get 3 shulker boxes all containing spruce logs here. They'll get fed into this type of system here, where they sit up in this top barrel, and then when this is unlocked, they'll flow across this hopper line here, Once one item is sucked down, it'll then be locked so the rest flow into here, just because we only really need to pull items from one box that contains our requested search item. We don't need to pull items from all of them. And then that box will make its way down, it'll get placed here, and it will begin to pull out our desired item. One thing I forgot to mention though is when the Shulker box search engine is done, it spits out its search item. That search item then comes back into this system that sets our filter for the item we want to pull out of the box. Because what if the Shulker box is mixed with spruce wood, oak wood, or whatever? We don't want it just pulling the first item out of the box. We want it pulling that specific item. So that item comes down, sets a filter here, basically, and then allows for the items to flow. This system here, I believe it's set to 16. We might get 15 as an output, but I do know in the main system there, I kind of figured that out a little bit. So as we see, our box gets placed, and then we start to get items flow through. Nope, I was right, we got 16 there. And then these items get put into the hopper minecart and then sent on their way. But we still have this filter item to deal with. So this filter item, basically, when this is all done, it pulses back through quickly and it sucks this filter item out, and then it loads it back into the chest minecarts, which then gets sent back up to the recipe storage. So those two systems kind of smashed together is this thing here, which essentially, as the hopper minecart comes in, it drops off its shulker box first, and then it drops off its item. It starts the searching process. The hopper minecart flows down here, picks up its shulker box again, waits a little bit, and then it falls down here, and it gets filled with the items that it's looking for. So I'll just demo that working over here with our redstone torch recipe. So here, just clicking this button should get the system started again. You should see this first hopper minecart come across, drop off its shulker box there, start the searching process, and then pick up its shulker box again. It will then fall through this cobweb. It'll wait for basically this system to find the items for it. So it's looking for sticks right now. It's pulled out 16 sticks. This process here, I've tried water, I've tried powdered snow, honey blocks. Nothing can quite get a good timing. So I just kind of went with cobwebs for a little bit of an overkill of a timing. It does take its time coming through though. So there, once it's come through, it picks up its 16 items, it goes across, and then we have our chest minecart for our recipe storage, comes in and it picks up this filter item. So that was a little quick, but essentially when the hopper minecart comes through, picks up the first set of 16, it'll go across this pressure plate track, and it'll call upon one of the chest minecarts to come in, and then it clears the filter item from in here and then sends it back up into our recipe storage, which is just up in here. So we look back, we got our stick and we got our redstone dust in the correct orientation, back ready for the next craft. And then over here, essentially, we've pulled out 16 of each of the desired items, put them in their proper minecarts with their coded shulker box to then be ready to start this process here. So basically once that's finished up, it'll pulse this minecart here, which will then start our next process here. So what it does first is it drops off its shulker box here, and this kind of goes through a red coder system. You kind of say where we want that item to go. So I'll show you with the sticks here. Sticks make their way up. They get put into this, the redstone dust. They make their way up, and they get put through the system here, and this minecart's basically unlocked, allowing our redstone dust to flow into the correct spot, and then our sticks to flow into the correct spot. And then once that's done, it starts to fill all the other slots with snowballs, just as a filler item for the other slots in the crafting, the auto crafter. So I'm just going to let that run for a little bit and fill up. Should only take a couple seconds here. So basically when that's finished up, it triggers this clock here to pulse on, and I had this disconnected so it didn't do what it was supposed to do, but I'll just flip that, and then it allows the items to flow down into their respective slots for the actual auto crafter there. And then once it's done, it sends a pulse and it starts the auto crafting system. So down in here, if we take a look, we have our items flowing in with our space holder snowballs that get sucked out of a filter, and then when it's done, it crafts our torch. And then it does that for all 16. And then we get our output here. So now we're going to do something that I have not done before with the system. We're going to see how long it takes to complete one full cycle. And by that I mean from the time it takes to request the item to when we get all the items crafted, and also for the system to be able to reset and be prepared for another requested craft. So we're just going to do sticks here, just as a nice, simple, easy one for this system. And let's see how long it takes. So the final craft here has been completed. As you can see, 8 minutes and 39 seconds is not exactly Usain Bolt speed, but I think it's okay. For this system, the way I picture it working is kind of like you have your storage system over there, per se, or above this thing, and it checks to see what items it's running low on. So let's say we're running low on sticks, it'll start crafting sticks, or You say you take out a bunch of blocks of iron, the system will detect it and it'll start crafting it up. So it's not like it's an on-demand system where it's right this second I want 16 torches. Give me those torches right now. No, it's kind of like an overtime restock. So whenever you're out hanging out with friends or building something or I don't know, doing what you do in Minecraft, this will be back at your base, refilling your storage. Another thing you might have seen during the running of this system was we have a little bit of a bug with this section here where the first set of planks, instead of giving us an output of 16 planks, it gave us an output of 32. Somehow this every once in a while gets triggered twice and I'm not too sure why, so I might have to go tick by tick and just check it out and see what happens. But it seems to be kind of a fluke occurrence. It's not really, I haven't really found a pattern with how it happens, but majority of the time I just get the 16 out. So I'm not sure if it's maybe if I fly too far away from it and it gets unloaded, or one of the minecarts gets unloaded or something. I'm not too sure, but I'll have to look into that a little bit more. But for if that was to happen and those 32 items actually got themselves over to this system here, it has a bit of an overflow protection, so those 16 extra planks would have just ended up in this barrel here and wouldn't have affected any of the actual crafting. But just something I gotta maybe dig my teeth into a little bit more and check out. But on that note, I think it's about time to wrap up this episode here. If you made it all the way to the end, I do commend you. I thank you for listening to some of my redstone rambles here and sticking along for the ride. And obviously, if you have any suggestions on improvements I can make to it, especially on the time of each cycle of this system, I would love to read some of your comments and maybe get some of your input for future. But thanks again, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.